It's so awesome. Five minutes to go. Hello, everybody. Happy Sex Worker Pride Day. My name is Yelena Vermillion. I am the Executive Director of the Sex Workers Action Program of Hamilton. And happy Sex Workers Day. I'm just trying to set up this feed in a momento. Okay. So Sex Worker Pride Day, what is it? Sex Worker Pride Day is actually relatively a new designated day. It began in 2019 from the Global Network of Sex Work Projects. And it is an opportunity to celebrate and share stories of sex workers' self-determination and the achievements of the sex workers' rights movement. So Sex Worker Pride extends to all marginalized by criminalization, discrimination, and the stigma across the sex worker movement, and celebrates the diversity within our community during International Sex Worker Pride. Sex Worker Pride joins 3 other days, the 3rd of March, the 2nd of June, and the 17th of December, which call attention to sex worker labor rights, access to justice, and violence against sex workers, to make up 4 annual International Sex Worker Rights Days. So let us move towards the video. We had the really gracious honor of being given permission to screen Our Bodies, Our Business by Geraldine George. So I'm just going to set this up right now. And here we are. So just as a preamble, I'm going to explain a little bit about the film for those who might be visually or hearing impaired. So as a part of ACT UP, New York City's Diva TV project, in June 1989, filmmaker Catherine Gund videoed events and activism taking place during the 5th International Conference on AIDS in Montreal. Included in this footage was Gund's interviews with sex workers, rights activists Cheryl Overs, Carol Lee, also known as the Scarlet Harlot, who coined the term sex work in the early 70s, Valerie Scott, Tracy Teef, and the late Danny Cockerline and Andrew Hunter. In 2016, with Guns and the featured activists' permission and essential support from XXX Workers Solidarity Association of British Columbia, filmmaker Geraldine George compiled the footage featuring sex workers' rights activism into Our Bodies, Our Business, Part 1, also known as OBOB1, a 24-minute documentary. OBOB1 illustrates how in the early years of the AIDS crisis, while facing a mounting death toll, the withholding of life-saving drugs and systematic scapegoating of prostitutes and sex workers, these pioneering activists pushed back with incredible intellect, performance, and actions. I had the pleasure of producing the subtitles for this particular cut. And this, I think, is the only second screening of it. And other than the people in the film that have already been mentioned, additional interviews were done by Jerry Wells. Post-production sound was done by Jackie Gallant. And the editor and director, again, is Geraldine George. Thank you so much, Geraldine George, for providing the film and for letting us screen this film. So without further ado, here we are. Our Bodies, Our Business by Geraldine George.
Keep your love off my body. 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 Keep your love. Keep your love.
Get your ACT UP t-shirts over here. Get them while they last.
Don't you have to be closer? Let's be as close as possible. My name's Carol Lee. I'm also known as the Scarlet Harlot, and I'm a working prostitute from San Francisco.
And why are you here at the AIDS convention?
We're here to oversee the kind of information that's being put out about prostitutes. Obviously, there is a lot of blaming and scapegoating. Prostitutes are seen as vectors of HIV, and in most of the workshops that are being presented, they're studying prostitutes because prostitutes are registered. In some countries, in Senegal, I just attended a workshop about the registration, and of course that's a violation of our rights to force us to be licensed by the government. That makes the government a pimp. We're doing street outreach to on the street to IV users, to sex workers, to all kinds of people.
Is the government giving you any money for doing this?
We got $40,000 from the state last year. We got a $400,000 grant from a private foundation. We receive help from all sorts of organizations. We are one of the original organizations actually that developed a plan, which I'll show you right now if you just hold on a minute. Prostitutes Prevent AIDS, and this is an information information about how prostitutes are actually preventing AIDS, how we do outreach education. And this is a California-based organization, but there are outreach programs in Canada, and in Toronto there are outreach programs. In Victoria there's an outreach program, and of course it's necessary to find prostitutes and ex-prostitutes to staff these programs and to provide outreach. I think the number one thing to know is that we shouldn't be forced to work as a prostitute, and we shouldn't be kept from working as a prostitute. We need our sexual freedom in both ways.
Right. I'm Cheryl Overs, and I'm the coordinator of the Prostitutes Collective of Victoria. I'm an expatriate Australian. Our group actually started well before AIDS. Our group started in 1975 as a feminist-based prostitutes' rights group. And so when AIDS came along, that changed our agenda to the extent that AIDS is an occupational health and safety issue for women in the sex industry.
What year was that?
That AIDS became an issue in Australia in about 83. So we took up our first AIDS programs in 83.
How's your government responding to the AIDS crisis?
Well, in Melbourne we have a population of 3 million, and the sex worker group, our group there, has a $250,000 budget. So that's and has had that for 4 years now.
I mean,
so
the government gives you money?
Oh yeah, that's
for your
100%
group?
government funding, yeah, sure.
Oh, that's great. So
Yeah.
how many people are in your organization?
Our membership is a few hundred. We have 8 staff and a few volunteers, but we try to keep away from volunteerism because we reckon we shouldn't give them those services at bargain price. You know, it's incumbent on the government. We're saving them millions and millions and millions of dollars, and we don't accept the volunteerism rate. We do all the safe sex workshops, and we have a big needle exchange. We get through maybe 5,000 needles a week. We have a big drop-in centre, which the women use during the day, which is fun, which really hops.
We make a great pair.
Yeah. Pity we're not interested in caring. Danny, we'd make a great heterosexual couple.
Danny, would you like to add something?
Well, I'm here because I'm tired of hearing prostitutes being blamed for the spread of AIDS. I mean, like at the opening reception, all we heard was that jerk Jonathan Mann talking about the number of female prostitutes that were infected in various countries, as though the only women in the world that were at risk of being infected were prostitutes. I mean, it's just a really ridiculous and dangerous message to be sending out to people all the time. And not only that, but all they're concerned about is that the prostitutes might be spreading it to someone else. They never give a damn that the prostitutes are infected, and they never notice the fact that you've got hardly any customers infected and a whole lot of prostitutes infected. It's obvious that the tiny little bit of customers infected are infecting the prostitutes, not the other way around.
So you think that they're going to scapegoat the sex workers?
Oh,
That's what the government
they have from the beginning, and that's what they do all the time. There's a prostitute in Toronto right now who's being detained. They charged her with being a common nuisance for endangering the health of others, and they're trying to keep her in jail. Why? Because she's HIV positive and she was charged with soliciting. Well, soliciting doesn't mean having unsafe sex.
The virus doesn't travel on cash. The virus travels in sperm. It doesn't stay on an American Express card or on the money.
And I've never heard of a prostitute holding a gun or a knife to a customer and saying, you have to have sex with me without a condom. But I have heard of the reverse.
Yeah.
Well, you know, all the prostitutes met.
Oh, yeah,
We are really.
We weren't invited. We could have did a great interview.
You're not slutty enough, but you know what? No.
Hey, you seen us in action, Carol?
No, but we want you to help us. We need video people. We are so into this, and we're prostitutes. We have so many working prostitutes at this convention.
So are you going to have another meeting, or what
We're
do you
having
want
a big demo, a meeting.
When?
We're having everything. Well, there's a prostitution seminar thing on Thursday at 11. And we need the camera people and everything there. And we're going to then take over everything. I don't know exactly what, but we're going to take over, and we can't wait.
My name is Valerie Scott. I'm with the Canadian Organization for the Rights of Prostitutes in Toronto.
And you just joined into this action because, or what are we protesting about?
Well, it seems like the Fifth International is all about whore bashing, this particular conference. So many studies are coming out where they don't have control groups, where they haven't really done the research, but it seems to not matter when you're studying prostitutes. You can say whatever the hell you want and everybody will believe you. And that's happening quite a lot here. So fortunately, there's a lot of groups here. There's a group from San Francisco, a group from Australia, a group from Sweden, and us as well. And there's some voice here, finally. And naturally, we have to protest all of this shoddy research shit. You know, so that's what we're here for.
So I hear you're having a demonstration on Thursday. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's not finalized yet, but it looks as if we will around the panel on prostitution, which is presented by all men. And no, it's all men researchers up there doing their little shtick. And I mean, personally, I really don't care if they're men or women. It's what they say that,
Right.
you know, that I'm mostly concerned with. So we'll see what they say.
Lesbians resist. AIDS care doesn't. Lesbians, prostitutes, and our supporters call for the decriminalization of prostitution, not the legalization, which amounts to state pimping and furthers the violation of our human rights. Governments are criminalizing the most effective, safer sex workers, and all peoples will pay dearly. Less than 1% of North American prostitute women are HIV positive, less than your so-called general population. The stigmatization of bad girls as vectors of infection is a lie that threatens all women.
As a prostitute, I consider myself a demi-mondaine, as do many of us in this tradition. Prostitutes can be entertainers, and there's a great history of prostitutes as entertainers. And I want to remember that. Of course, as you see, I'm trying to improve the good reputation of prostitutes around the world. And I think that what I'm doing and the way I'm doing it seems pretty clear. I've been a prostitute for 12 years, and I've always been an artist. And as soon as I started doing prostitution, I knew that I needed to be Scarlet Harlot and go around the world and tell everyone what it's like to be a prostitute, in case they wanted to know, because people usually do want to know. I've been working 5 years when the AIDS crisis hit, so of course I was very affected by it, and most of the work that I've done has been related to AIDS. And I've used my art as a way to promote social activism and to work with other activists and horror activists who are also artists like me. They come from California, but they want to color! After they had a good time, Monday morning, and it's time to vote. He owed a favor for the bill he wrote, and so he offered up the old gay show. He said, "You're gonna do time." Lock your gates in quarantine. Look who's talking, Mr. Queen.
I like the idea of registering prostitutes and testing them. When are you going to institute a system of registering the clients and also testing them and giving them other sexual occupations like that?
Yes, well, you all have participated in education by prostitutes and women here as health educators, and now it's time for the question portion to see how you've responded to your retraining. I would like to know what you have learned and what additions you would bring to your program as a result of some of the information that you've received at this session.
this AIDS epidemic is working face to face. We have to struggle together as partners against this disease. And one of the things that I have learned is working mutual support, peer support, and then there are women. They're like the rest of us. That's what I'm doing. I feel fine working with them.
Thank you. One last question. Yeah, I'm sure you're all nice people, but I did think it was monumentally insensitive to produce a panel of speakers on prostitution that was so heavily dominated by men.
I appreciate the point that you just made. If I can just add a small historical note to that. There were very few of us last year who were concerned with this issue and able to get on the program. And there was in fact a panel in Stockholm, which was entirely presentation by women and women who worked with prostitute groups and prostitutes on the program. And we felt like we made tremendous progress from previous meetings, but we also felt very alone. I'm impressed this year that there are some men who are speaking to this issue and beginning to.
Oh, come on, what a sellout!
Work together. I think we need to work together.
Oh, work together. I mean, with pimps. I mean, God, they're taking, any money that could be going into education is going to their research while people are still seroconverting and dying. There are people who work with prostitutes from prostitutes' rights groups who have run education programs very similar to the one in Mexico and about 3 years before. And, we put papers in.
And there were no prostitutes on the panel of women last year, which was a big problem. And I applied to do a submission for our project in Toronto and got no reply whatsoever.
That's the real problem.
You've got blood on your hands.
Next year's program has made a commitment that I hope you will help us.
Oh, we've spent our $500 this year trying to get here. I can't afford to sell it. I don't have a second car to sell to get to Montreal, to get to San Francisco.
And I invite everybody. Thank you.
Prostitutes will be meeting in front of the La Gauchetière side, in front of the Palais de Congrès, to seize control in a theatrical demonstration and give a press conference. Yeah. All right.
The only vaguely decent research I've heard from America has had Judith Collins' name on it. It just seems like she must have sold out of it since the research she's been done for Caltech and Coyote. I mean, saying it's fabulous to work together with men when there's 5 of them on the panel, it's just bizarre. And seeing programs from people who obviously read the stuff that come out of the sex worker control program that was set up 3 or 4 and 5 years ago, and then presenting them like it's some fabulous new model. It's just a lot of shit.
And now we're going to hear from prostitutes from all over the world, and most especially from Toronto, Valerie Scott.
Hi. We're here to protest the fact that drug companies and condom companies can go in there in the trade floor and sell their wares, but we can't sell safer sex. In Canada, there's a law called Communicating for the Purposes of Prostitution. They don't define what communicating is. In fact, one guy in Vancouver was arrested for revving his car engine at a girl. We're not allowed to wear buttons that say safe sex hole. We can be arrested for that. Escort agencies are not allowed to talk about sex on the phone, let alone safer sex. And they're putting these laws on us all over the world. It's not just Canada. So what's happening is they're using the AIDS issue to justify these laws against us. It's a perfect issue to scapegoat us with. As if we're trying to infect the middle class, which we're not. Whores are safe sex pros. We're the ones that put the condoms on the guys. We're the ones that do the education. And what do we get for it? At conferences like this, all we get is shit on. Prostitutes transmitting AIDS. That's bullshit, as I said the other day. If that were true, half the government would be dead already. we're going into the trade floor. We're going to announce our prices and our services, and we need your help. We need you to stand up for us. Thank you.
And now we'll hear from Cheryl Overs from the Prostitutes Collective in Victoria, Australia.
Well, that's all right. Today, which has been the theme of the conference today. Surprise! Well, I was surprised when I walked in and saw all those blokes. That's Australian for men. And what really surprised me was anybody would think prostitutes had sex with themselves. They talked the whole time about prostitutes. And you start to wonder who prostitutes have sex with. Other prostitutes? Because all they can think about is the minority of people who participate in the exchange, in the sexual exchanges. That is the workers. The majority of people involved in the sexual contact are men, and they didn't even get a mention, except they were all sitting there. They were research pimps. Thanks.
I want everybody to know that we're all prostitutes, ex-prostitutes. We've all actually sold it. So just in case anyone knows, afterwards we will be going onto the trade floor and offering our wares as well, or our services. But now, before we do, I'd like to introduce Danny Cockerline, and he's from Toronto.
All right, I'm a prostitute. I'm not very good at speeches, though, so I'm just going to sort of read a little something that I wrote just before the workshop today, which is really funny because I don't know how many of you were there, but it sort of brings some things out. I just wanted to say that people are assuming that, like, I'm maybe upset that there's not been very much done here at the conference about male prostitution, but actually I'm really pleased that these people, for the most part, are not prodding and researching and studying and fingering and prying into the lives of male prostitutes the way they have been with female prostitutes. I think that all prostitutes and all people need same-sex education, but we don't like being singled out as the only group that's in need of it. It's like the whores and the tarts and the sleazebags and the harlots and the whole lot of us. We're responsible too. And we're just going to take our little goods inside and ply them around the trade floor, and you're all welcome to come along to the show.
So we're going there quietly, okay? So we don't get stopped. Come on to the trade floor with us where we can solicit you and offer our safe sex service. We're tired of how we're being treated at this conference, although we appreciate all the humanitarians who showed up to support us. And now we're going to solicit. And this is civil disobedience in Canada, and in America, and in many countries around the world. Who would like to be the first to solicit? $50! $50
for a blowjob! $50! You can sell your wares soap and wigs! $50!
For an hour of pleasure.
Sex for sale!
I need 1,000 by tonight.
National intercourse with a condom. $100 per hour. Or safe-sex education.
We're outside the Canadian government stand now, so we can ask them. We demand that the Canadian government repeal the prostitution laws. They're a threat to the public health. Safe sex for sale.
Safer sex for sale.
Get it while it's
$50 for 10 minutes, $100 an hour. This is called communicating for the purposes of prostitution.
And I demand to be dragged on.
Reduce rates for PWAs.
We're selling a responsible product. Why can condom companies be here and prostitutes can't? Why is this commodity illegal? Labor sex for sale! $10 for 10
If you want to know the rate of infection in prostitutes, test the members of parliament. I got buttons for sale too. If people are too shy to buy sex, they can buy safe-sex buttons. You don't actually have to have safe sex now. You can buy gift certificates for all your friends. Gift certificates are available.
We're talking about really bad laws. See them doing it in broad daylight, hoping they don't catch the latest light. They don't get laid because their butts are too tight. You ask yourself just who they think they are. They live in California, Quebec, or Dakar. After they had a good time.
All right. That was the Geraldine George film, Our Bodies, Our Business. Thank you so much for watching. One of my favorite parts about this film is that it really it gathers multiple people from the sex workers' rights movement into one amazing film. Danny Cockerline and Valerie Scott helped form the Coalition for the Rights of Prostitutes, or in Toronto, which was the precursor organization for Maggie's Toronto Sex Workers Action Project, which I help do the social media for. And again, I had the pleasure and honor of doing the subtitles for that film in collaboration with Geraldine George, the filmmaker. Another anecdotal piece of information is that Valerie Scott is one of the 3 pivotal members in the lawsuit against Canada. It was Valerie Scott, Amy Lebovich, and Terry Jean Bedford who won their case against the Attorney General of Canada, striking down certain prostitution laws as unconstitutional, which was then replaced with C-36, also known as the Protections of Communities and Exploited Persons Act, which for the first time in Canada criminalized the sale of sex work, while keeping sex workers or people who sell their sexual services not liable to criminal prosecution. They're still considered criminals now. So decriminalize. Happy Sex Worker Pride Day. This video will be available to watch at your own leisure once it is processed by the feeds it is presented to you on. And enjoy. Take care. Happy Sex Worker Pride Day.